The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. Yeah!
Hi, and welcome to the Pool Guy Podcast Show. In this episode, I'm going to talk to Steve Jones of Fluidra. He works specifically with the Jandy variable speed pumps. We're going to cover the new Department of Energy regulations that are going to go in effect in July 2021. And these new regulations will mandate that anyone upgrading from a single speed pump that doesn't meet the energy requirements by the Department of Energy will need to put in a variable speed pump or a pump that meets that requirement. So we'll go over how this will affect you as a consumer, installer, or builder, and we'll also touch on some of the Jandy variable speed pump models. Leslie's Pool Supplies is a proud partner of the Pool Guy Podcast Show. Leslie's Pool Supplies has been do-it-yourselfers and pool trade professionals' trusted partner since 1963, providing quality products and services to make pool care easy and solutions and expertise to do it right. So I'm joined by Steve Jones. He's the product manager at Fluidra and works mainly with the Jandy pool equipment and specifically the variable speed pumps. How are you doing today, Steve?
I'm doing great, David. Thanks for asking. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about the new Department of Energy regulation, which will require all pumps of a certain horsepower rating to meet certain efficiency thresholds. So effective 2021, I think variable speed pumps are going to be a big part of the market share because of this regulation. So how does the overall regulation affect the builders, the installers, and the consumers in 2021?
Yeah. So listen, you kind of nailed it that there's basically for every pump that is sold, not sold, but is manufactured or imported after July 18th of 2021, they're going to be required to meet what we call minimum energy efficiency standards. And it is based on the hydraulic horsepower of the pump. The higher the hydraulic horsepower, typically you have a more stringent standard on what the energy efficiency needs to be. So if you are a builder or a installer or a consumer out there that has already switched over to variable speed, you're really not going to have any impact to your business because just about every single variable speed pump passes that requirement. The bigger impact is for people who are primarily still using single speed pumps. What they will see is, to keep it simple, generally 1 horsepower and above pumps for a single speed variety. It's very difficult for them to meet the standards that the DOE has set. For pumps at 1 horsepower, it's a little bit of a crapshoot, I would say. And then below 1 horsepower, those single speed pumps tend to generally pass. So, those people using 1.5 horsepower single speed pumps and above, they're going to need to transition over to the variable speed pump variety.
And that's only when their pump needs to be replaced, right? No one's going to go back in the backyard and cite anybody for having a single speed pump. But when you replace it, they have to go with the variable speed pump that meets the regulation. Is that correct?
Exactly, yeah. So it's not like they're going to go out and go into people's backyards and arrest them for having an illegal pump. It is basically if you are building a new pool or if you have a pump that cannot be repaired and you need to replace it, then you'd be looking at variable speed pumps as your option. Another key thing here that people need to understand is that it's I used the term earlier, manufactured or imported into the U.S. after July 18th, 2021. So what that means is you can still go into a store on July 19th, 2021 and still buy a single speed pump, but that supply chain obviously will eventually be depleted. I would say in any given time, you've got 3 to 6 months worth of supply out in the supply chain. So it'll really be like quarter four of 2021, quarter 1 of 2022, where people really start to see the pinch.
Okay. And then since you work for Jandy, of course, how is Jandy addressing the new DEO regulations that are going to be in effect July 2021?
Yeah. So really education has been really important to us. We started about 2 years ago actually doing some light training for all of our sales and service staff out in the field, simply to make them aware of it. And a lot of people were like, well, that's like 2.5 years away. Why are we getting trained on this now? And it was really important for us to make sure that we were getting the word out to our internal team as well as our customers on what was coming so that they were prepared. So education has been really important. We recently did a webinar for our customers and set up a website on Jandy.com that's dedicated simply to educational tools for the industry and for consumers on what the rules mean, and kind of goes into a lot of detail. We have a simple 2-page document that kind of explains in general what the impact is. We have a larger, about 20-page PDF download that they can use to train their internal employees. And then we have a couple of recorded webinars on there as well that kind of goes through all the details. So we've got a lot of information out there. Other than that, we are clearly making sure that we are going to be compliant in 2021. We've got a handful of single speed pumps that are still going to be compliant. We've got some that are on the fence that we are working towards making some improvements to them to improve their efficiency so that they can pass the standards. And then working on just all the labeling and requirements that we need to do to make sure that we are compliant.
Yeah, so we're going to cover the pumps in more detail in a separate podcast, but I want to touch on some of the features I think that are important for the consumer and also for the installer and builder to know about. And one of the things about the single speed pump market is pretty much well entrenched for many, many years. So a lot of people don't have the right voltage. Previously didn't have the right voltage for a variable speed pump, but now Jandy makes dual voltage VS pumps pretty much standard on all their new VS pumps. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we recently we went through a several-year development cycle with develop our own motor that operates on either 115 volt or 230 volt voltage. One of the challenges that the industry has had is, like you said, there's a lot of single-speed pumps out there that can operate at 115 volt or 230 volt, and we realized that look, when we get to 2021, it's going to really have an impact on those people because it can often be expensive to if you're running 115 volts on your single-speed pump, if you need to replace it, and 230 is your only option, you've got to bring in an electrician, pull wire out there. It can be expensive and inconvenient. So we basically now have several dual voltage options out on the market that will operate at 115 or 230.
Yeah, so I think that's a good point to put across to the people here is that if you have a 115 volt single speed pump, there's nothing to worry about as far as upgrading now to the Jandy variable speed pump because you don't have to have an electrician come out there and run the 230 volt line, which could be like $1,000 or $1,200 depending on how far they have to run it. So I think that gives people a peace of mind that they can upgrade no matter how they have their equipment pad structured at that point. And then I think all of the new VS pump line has a TEFC upgrade on that. Can you explain what that is and why that option really makes Jandy the ideal VS pump to go with?
Yeah, so there's actually two parts to that. So let's start with most single speed pumps use what we call an ODP motor or open drip proof. So the way an ODP motor is built, it's not sealed away from the outside world, which what I mean by that is it allows in air for cooling, for natural cooling. But along with that air, it also allows in dust and other debris, as well as water splashes. So open drip proof motors provide basic prevention from dust and water, but you got to focus on that drip proof of the open drip proof motor. It tells you that it's fine with light rain, but an open drip proof motor under heavy rain, windy rain is potentially at risk for damage due to the water ingress. So a TEFC motor, on the other hand, it's sealed away from the elements. It has a cooling fan that blows cooler air over the motor to keep it cool. So they're much better for outdoor environments. So it's one advantage of the variable speed pump. You're going from something that is susceptible to damage from water to something that is really built to withstand the outdoors and the elements. Jandy, our newest pumps, Jandy took the TEFC motor one step further. We actually have on those pumps what we call a zero clearance TEFC motor. So most TEFC motors pull in cooler air from the back of the pump. So if you were to be in a tight spot, say up against a fence or a foundation, most TEFC motors, if you butted it right up against that fence or foundation, you would not get sufficient airflow to keep it cool. Our zero clearance TEFC motor allows you to fit that pump into a really tight space, and the cooler air is getting pulled in from the sides of the fan. So you got sufficient cooling, and your pump's going to be fine.
And so since the TEFC motor, our pump is pretty much completely water sealed, thereby it's probably going to last a lot longer than the standard pumps.
Exactly. Under equal environmental conditions, the TEFC motor will last longer.
Yeah. So that's another good thing about upgrading is you're going to get a motor that's going to last a lot longer. And by nature, variable speed pumps, in my opinion, last longer anyway because you're not running it at that full 3450 RPMs all the time.
Yeah, for sure. So, when Jandy does testing on all of our pumps, we test them at full speed, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We've got a test lab that's running hundreds of motors right now, and the bearings, they're all designed to run at 3450 RPM. But picture a car. My car can do 110, 120 miles per hour. If I drive it like that all the time, it's not going to last that long. If I drive it at 50 miles per hour, it's going to last a lot longer. So the same idea with a pump motor. If you're running at 3450 constantly, it's going to have a shorter lifespan than if you ran it at 1750 RPM, simply because there's less wear and tear on it.
And then, the government's going to mandate this upgrade in 2021. And a lot of consumers always talk about the extra cost of a variable speed pump. And I think for me, the benefits offset the extra cost. And so for those consumers that are going to have to or be forced to upgrade, a lot of people upgrade because they want to, because they know that it's going to save them money. But those that are going to be forced to upgrade, some of the benefits of the variable speed pump, if you want to go over those so they can feel a little more comfortable about the fact that even though it's going to be mandated to upgrade to this, there's a good reason why the government wants everyone to have a variable speed pump in their backyard.
Yeah, so it's really about energy savings is the number one thing, right? So, if you kind of, not to nerd out, but it's really difficult to get new power plants built these days, and our population is getting larger, not smaller, so energy demands are increasing. So anywhere the government can conserve energy is a big deal, and that's what the idea is behind a variable speed pump. So when you run a variable speed pump at half speed instead of full speed, you have essentially cut your energy bill by almost 90%. It's a weird calculation, but that's the fact. It's if you cut your speed in half, your electricity goes down to 1/8 of what it was originally. So it's almost 90% in savings. So for a typical year-round pool, even though the upfront cost of a variable speed motor or a variable speed pump is higher, after about a year, it's paid off. And then every other day you run it after that, you're actually putting extra money in your pocket, and it puts less stress on the energy grid and the need to produce energy. So there's a lot of other benefits as well. For example, noise reduction. A lot of neighborhoods, people are packed in like sardines with their houses. Example, my neighbor's pool pad is literally right outside my bedroom window. A couple of years ago, we convinced them to upgrade to a variable speed pump. And I will admit that when they did it, we had a small party to celebrate. So we get along a lot better with our neighbors now. And my wife and I get better sleep, especially on the weekends, because their pump isn't waking us up anymore. We talked about pump lifespan. It's going to last longer because you're not running at full speed. And then even just from a safety standpoint, think about water velocity and entrapment risks. The lower speed means lower water velocity. Your pool's going to be safer running at lower speeds, and the wear and tear and the other equipment on the pool pad is going to take less of a beating as well. So in general, everything's going to last longer.
Yeah, so I think for someone who's maybe on the fence even now in 2020, why not upgrade now and save that energy? Because like you said, the year after year one, the cost of it's gonna pay for the cost of that and the install, and then those subsequent years are going to be energy saving. And I can tell you from my own experimenting with variable speed pumps, I had one put in my house here. I have a Jandy Flow Pro 2.7, and I've been tracking my electricity bill. Besides the air conditioner, your pool pump is probably the second biggest energy draw in your house. And my electricity bill, we were in a tier system in California, as you know, and so I've stayed under the tier all through the summer the last 3 years. So it definitely does pay off to really upgrade.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll give my neighbor as an example. I personally do not own a pool, but their pool electricity bill, their full electricity bill for their house in general was about $400. That obviously you said includes air conditioning and everything else, but their pool pump operation was a big part of that. And they've cut their bill in half since they upgraded to a variable speed pump. So it's a big difference.
Yeah, so I know you're going to be biased on this question here, but why do you think Jandy VS pumps would be the best choice for both the pool pro who's going to install them in their customers' accounts, and for the consumer to let their pool professional know that they want to have a Jandy VS pump in their backyard?
Yeah, so this is going to seem like an odd response because I'm not really talking about the product, but I think it's really about the people that make up the Jandy brand. We have a really good crew. It's probably one of the best organizations I've worked for. We have a large, really well-trained staff out in the field, both sales and service. And they're available 24/7, 365 days a year. I've been out with some of these guys just visiting customers, and their phone rings nonstop, and they answer every call and help every customer that calls. All of our warranty stations that are going to be servicing the equipment, they have to go through a training program and get certified to work on Jandy equipment. So from a consumer standpoint, if they did have any problems, they can be rest assured that we're going to be on top of it quickly, and we're going to have a really good technician out there to look at the equipment and get it up and running. And then from a product standpoint, we have a really wide range of pumps. You mentioned the VS Flow Pro earlier. That's really it's a smaller, compact pump. It's really good for the aftermarket, for people doing service, repair, replacement of other designs. And then we have pumps that are much larger. We have an E pump or a stealth pump, which is really a builder focused pump. They're big, they're rugged, they have large pump baskets. So we really have something that fits everybody's needs.
Yeah, and I think another thing I like about the Jandy brand of pumps is that you have the JEP-R controller, and then you also have the IQ Pump 101, which I have on my pool. So if you don't have automation, the controller for the Jandy VS pump, you can actually use your phone with the app to control the pump, set the schedule, runtime. I do a lot of testing in my house with products. I'm always going into the app and changing the speed and testing different things on my pool. And so I think for the consumer standpoint, having the IQ Pump 01 ability to actually use your phone to control it is definitely a game changer for the VS pump market without automation.
Yeah, the IQ pump is awesome. I've used a lot of the onboard controllers on our pumps and on our competitors' pumps, and look, while they're usable, there's a lot of settings that you need to go through, and you're working out in the sunlight on let's be honest, a relatively small screen with a lot of options. The iAqualink app and IQ pump, you can program a pool pump in literally 2 to 3 minutes, have it up and running, and then for those service guys out there in the field. I'm sure you've all had this where you've got one of your customers has a party coming up on the weekend and they can't get their pool equipment working right. So they want to have you come over at 9:00 at night and make sure everything's running properly. Well, now you can just jump on your iAqualink app. You can, through the internet, connect to their pool pump and their equipment and see what's going on and make adjustments for them without having to drive out to their house. So it's really convenient.
Yeah, I think it's a convenient way to operate the pump. And I think it's also for anyone, maybe we have a lot of older or elderly people that are going to be taking over to switch over from the single speed pump to variable speed pump. And I think a lot of the controllers are overly complicated for them, and having the ability just to put an app on your phone and you can see the scheduling, it's going to be a lot simpler for those that may not be as pool savvy or have a pool service professional. I think that's another key too, is the ease of use of the app itself versus going back there, like you said, and trying to figure out how to program something with the keypad on the back of the pump.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. It's easy. It is probably the easiest thing I've used in the past couple of years. It's a great app, really highly rated on online. So I encourage everybody to check that out.
And then the pumps, of course, are compatible with your automated systems, and the other options would be the JP-R and then the IQ Pump 01 to control it, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so you have those options to control it. And does the pump? What does the pump actually ship with? Does it ship with the controller?
So we have some pumps that ship with the controller for convenience. So let's say we package something with a JEP-R. Well, you're paying for that cost up front, even if you intend to use it with automation or IQ Pump 01. So some of our pump models are available just with the pump, and then you buy the controllers separate. So if you're going to connect it to an automation system, well, you've just saved yourself some money. And then if you want to use the IQ Pump 01 instead of the JEP-R, well, again, you're not paying for that JEP-R when you're not going to use it. So you buy what you want to use independently of it. So it saves a little bit of money for the consumer and for the pool pro.
And one thing I guess we could mention is that both your controllers can be mounted on a wall. That way, if you do need to access the outside controller, you're not bending over the pump. A lot of equipment pads in California are very tight. Sometimes there's pipes crossing right over the keypad of the VS pump. So I think that's also another option that people need to be aware of. They can actually mount that controller.
Exactly. Yeah, it comes with a 20. I believe it's a 20-foot cord, so you can move it over near your garage door over to a nice convenient place, eye level, so you're not, like you said, not cramping down in a tight space, maybe some rodents and some spiders around that so you can avoid that by putting it in a nice convenient place.
So what if you have an above ground pool? Does the new law affect above ground pools in the same way?
Yes and no. So above ground pool equipment, some pumps, depending on your system, still need to meet what we call the minimum energy efficiency requirements. But the way the DOE has written the rule, the way they would classify a typical above ground pump, the efficiency standards are less strict. So it's easier for an above ground pump to pass. And then there's some equipment classes that are using above ground. For example, integral sand filter cartridges, where the pump is kind of built into the filter. Those are exempt. The only requirement there is that they have a timer where they will that once the pump turns on, it will automatically turn off after 10 minutes. So a good example is, a lot of people have those Intex systems. Those, for the most part, are not required to meet energy efficiency requirements. But of course, with a variable speed pump, there's always energy savings. You get the same advantages. So some above ground pools may, even if not required, may benefit from having a variable speed pump.
Yeah, so you would have to have your pool professional come out there and look at the setup of the above ground pool, because I know there's a lot of large above ground pools, 10,000, 14,000 gallons, that probably would benefit from having a variable speed pump running to save you the energy, because you have to run those for a very long time, just like a regular in-ground pool.
Exactly. To me, the key is again that pool pro and them being the prescriber for the equipment. The most above ground pools are typically going to be using smaller plumbing, so you wouldn't want to say put a 2.7 horsepower pump on there, because it's just going to overpower the plumbing system, and you can actually either break the plumbing or cause other types of damage. So you just want to make sure you size that pump properly.
Okay, that makes sense. I think that's good. We'll wrap up there. And thanks again for letting me just record that little tidbit in case I put it in there for the above ground pool.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks for your time. I know you have to go to another meeting, so I'll let you go, and I appreciate it.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, and so if listeners want more information about the Jandy VS pumps, and since in 2021 they're going to have very little choice but to upgrade their pump, where can they go, and how would they go about getting a Jandy pump installed in their backyard?
Yeah, so that's an easy one. Visit jandy.com and then go to our residential section, and we'll have all of our product literature there, a list of our complete pump lineup. And then also on the main page, there is a find a dealer link. So real simple, you enter in your zip code, and it will give you a list of authorized Jandy dealers in your area, whether it's a builder or a service company or a company that does both. And you can get in touch with them that way.
Mm-hmm. And Jandy you can't buy these pumps online and have it delivered to your house?
Correct. So one of the things that we do is every industry is impacted by online, and it is difficult for a regular brick and mortar store or a pool professional to compete with somebody who's just selling stuff out of their garage. So we do not allow our equipment to be sold online. It's exclusive trade series equipment only. So you can only buy it through an authorized dealer or through distribution.
And I think that also adds some protection to the consumer, because online you don't know the status of the pump, or if it's been used, or what the warranty is, and things like that. So I think for me, getting the pump through a brick and mortar pool store or your pool service provider is probably the better bet to go anyway, versus internet, because I know that a lot of times the product isn't exactly what you think it is when you order it online.
Exactly. Yeah. I've ordered stuff online. It shows up at your house, and you're kind of frustrated. Like, wait a minute, this isn't what I thought I was getting. And if it's not a core reputable online dealer, it's really difficult to get your money back or to get what you thought you had ordered. So going through a pool professional, we believe, is the best way to do it. They're going to install it properly. They're going to set it up properly. And when it comes to a warranty need, you don't have to go through Jandy. You call up your pool professional. They're authorized to work with us, and they're going to handle all of your warranty needs. So there's a service beyond just buying the product that is important to the consumer, we believe.
Yeah, and I think it's weird how the pool industry has kind of gotten to the point where the internet is a big portion of it, of course, but the big big items like pumps, heaters, I would always think that buying it at a brick and mortar store is the better way to go because you can actually see the person, see the product, and get the product there. Or from your pool service provider, they can actually bring the product to your house. So to me, I think it's for a big item like that, buying it from a reputable source is really an important aspect of equipment purchase.
Yeah, and even just think about we call the pool professional the prescriber, right? They're kind of like the doctor. If a lot of pool owners, if they're not really comfortable with the equipment on their pool pad, they could buy a pump that is greatly undersized for their needs or greatly oversized. Undersized, if you buy an undersized pump, you are gonna let your pool's gonna turn green simply because you're not moving enough water and getting the chemicals in there. If you oversize it, you've got, like I said before, entrapment risks from too high of a flow rate or just damaging other equipment because you've overpressurized the system. So the pool professional in our mind is the key prescriber in the whole supply chain.
Yeah, I think that's a great point because when you're buying something online, you're just kind of going off what you think would be the best. And if you have someone actually go out there and look at your setup, he may even suggest a better idea than what you had thought. So it's really important, I think, when you're buying a big ticket item like equipment, that you have someone go out there and actually look at it, see if it's going to work, see if it's going to fit in the area, because you don't know as a consumer the footprint of the item or how hard it would be to install in a certain location. So I think it's critical for a pump or heater or filter in that matter to have someone go out there and look at your pad to see what can actually be done.
Yep, most certainly.
Yeah. So, well, thanks for your time with this podcast. And I know you're going to stick around to record the second one. And we're going to go over each pump specifically so that if you are a installer or builder or consumer, you'll know exactly which Jandy VS pump would be right for your equipment pad and for your needs. So I appreciate your time on this podcast.
Hey, happy to be here.
And this is a question I get asked all the time, regardless of the product. And for myself, I always like to know the warranty period. The Jandy variable speed pumps come back by a 3-year manufacturer warranty. So you know you're buying a high quality product backed by a major manufacturer. So I hope you found this podcast helpful as these new regulations are going to go into effect sooner than you think. July 2021 is right around the corner. And I think that this will help you prep yourself as a consumer that needs to upgrade their pump when you need to think about replacing it. And also as the installer or pool builder going forward, knowing that most of the customers are going to require a variable speed pump replacement. And of course, I hope you look at the Jandy VS pumps as the option going forward as you replace your pool pump. They offer a lot of great features, and Jandy offers a lot of great features with the variable speed pumps. And in the second podcast, I'm going to talk with Steve some more. We're going to go specifically over each variable speed pump and which one would fit your particular needs as a homeowner, as an installer, and as a builder. So I look forward to unpacking each of these variable speed pumps individually with Steve in the next podcast. If you're looking for more resources for your pool care, definitely check out my website, swimmingpoollearning.com. I have an ebook available for $9.99, and I also have a lot of helpful web pages for you there. And if you're in the industry and you're looking for more one-on-one help with your business or you want to enhance it, definitely check out my coaching program. Currently, I have over 240 members in the program. There's also a very active group me chat where you can post a question in there and get it answered. Plus, you have the ability to text me or call me in real time to get your questions answered while you're out there in the field. You can learn more about that at poolguycoaching.com. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Have a great rest of your week, and God bless. Leslie's Pool Supplies has been do-it-yourselfers and pool trade professionals' trusted partner since 1963, providing quality products and services to make pool care easy and solutions and expertise to do it right.